What up, watch peeps? Today I thought we'd take a look at my Orion Field Standard. Orion has got to be one of the coolest brands on the micro scene, and not just because of the awesome watches, but because of the story of the owner, Nick Harris. Nick actually got his start selling watch mods on Reddit under the handle Watches by Nick. But Nick did what I think a lot of watch modders think of. He actually took the next step and enrolled in watchmaking school. And he's now a graduate and a certified watchmaker, and I think this background gives him a very unique perspective in the design and function of his watches and his brand. So the Orion Field Standard is an iteration of his first watch, the Orion 1, which is a sports dress type watch. He used the same case for the Orion Field Standard, and again on a third model, the red wine dialed Sylph, another sports type watch. But I think Nick is probably, his most famous watch is probably the one that came right after these, the Calamity Dive watch. He also has another watch on the way, the Hellcat, which is a pilot sports type watch and looks to be very promising. Again, this watch is mine, bought with my own money, not donated or lent into the channel. Speaking of which, if you enjoy the channel, subscribing is a huge help, always much appreciated. So let's get to it. I'm Pete, and we are Chilling with Watches. Alright, first things first, wrist check. Today I am wearing my Casio, the G-Shock GA2100, which I have put the Royal Oak looking metal case on. And I just think that gives it a really cool look. Alright, so the Orion Field Standard. These are all sold out, and I don't think this model is coming back. I think right now, as far as Orion watches that are available, he's taking pre-orders for both the Hellcat and the Calamity. So I don't remember the exact pricing of these when they were available. I want to say they were somewhere around $400. One of the coolest things you'll notice right away is this gigantic crown. So I want to get it wound up and set the hands here. So it unscrews. As you can imagine, a crown of this size is incredibly easy to manipulate. It's really smooth turning, and one of my favorite things about this watch. Let's see if we can get her going. It just instantly engages and disengages. So dial layout, and you can see it's a standard field watch dial with the inner 24-hour ring. But he's also got these applied little arrowheads around the outside. They just give it a little extra bit of pop. Cathedral hands and the white seconds hand with the red tip. So yeah, that crown, let's measure that guy for you real quick. Well, that is not right. Yeah, I was going to say, that is a 9mm crown. And it's amazing. It is a signed crown with knurling on it, which has become kind of a trademark of his. But yeah, as you can see, it's unwinds very easy. Stops very readily in both time setting and date setting positions. Very easy to operate. The movement in this is a Seiko NH35. Let's say this is the Orion logo. The case size, I believe if you get it just right, it's a 38mm case. And the lug to lug is 49. So she's got some lugs, and you can see that looking at it from the top view. But there's something about the way this wears, even though it has long lugs. As you'll see, as I turn it sideways, that length sort of disappears. The way they curve down, their thickness. So I think those long lugs really play well into this case profile. And also, I mean, if you're looking at vintage field watches, that is something that is not uncommon, long lugs. Let's see the thickness on this case. 13.4, and I think that is including the domed crystal, which, let's see if we can get a good view of it. It's a slightly domed crystal that sits flush with the bezel. But I mean, this is a functional field watch. That is an extremely thick sapphire crystal. The lug width on these is, it's 20 millimeter lug width. And let's see, the bracelet tapers down to about 17.5. I said that is a sapphire crystal, and it does have AR coating, which in just the right light, you get some really major pops of blue in there from that AR coating. I do not recall the water resistance on these. I want to say, there it is, 100 meter water resistance with a screw down crown on an automatic field watch. That is basically all you need in this style of watch. I mean, it's basically all the specs that you'd have on your wish list for a field watch. Polished bezel. Polished case sides. Now there was brushing on the top of the lugs. And this particular bracelet I have on here, this actually was the bracelet from my Orion 1 with polished center links. It also comes with fitted leather straps, or you could optionally buy these. I have both the black and the brown here. But yeah, these are fitted. And when they're on there, it gives it a whole different look. That is very cool. And this thing looks equally cool on NATOs or any kind of elastic straps as well. So yeah, I think that case profile manages the lug to lug very well. Drilled lugs. When it sits on your wrist, it just sits really well. Where the bracelet attaches to the case is very centered very well, and it's all very proportional, and it sits weighted very well on your wrist as well. Like I said, the bracelet is a standard oyster, polished center links on this one, but he's done all kinds of one-offs with polished outer links, bead blasted cases, DLC cases. I think I saw one that had a quarter for a dial. The clasp on this, it's a milled out clasp, standard 2-pusher safety clasp that is signed and brushed the whole way. Micro adjust, it's got 3, which gives you probably every 1/8 inch in between the length of each individual link. Let's see how it looks on wrist. Okay, so here it is on my 7 1/4 inch wrist. And on the bracelet, sized for 7 1/4, it comes in at 158 grams. So it's got good wrist presence. You'll know it's there. But off the bracelet, it would lose a good chunk of that weight, obviously. So yeah, let's take a look at it side by side with some other similar watches. Here it is side by side with the 40 millimeter Citizen Mont Bell that I recently had on the channel. Both very similar in their style and design. Very similar bezels. Here it is side by side with the Notice Sector. How big is the Notice Sector? I think I misquote this thing's size every time I talk about it. 38. So these are both 38 millimeter watches, and this is the Sector Field case. So basically, it's a field to field comparison. I think these two actually look like they wear very similar. Here it is side by side with the 41 millimeter Tudor Ranger, obviously a much larger watch. The bigger dial makes that even more apparent. And, you know, we can't do a comparison without comparing to an SKX, right? The 42 millimeter SKX. So you can see where it's a little more compact than that. And I also have my CWC here. This is the 36 millimeter CWC, which has been getting more and more of my wrist time lately. I used to not be a huge fan of small watches, but I like this thing. All right, so you know what we got to do now.
Keep the loom.
There she is. As you can see, all the Arabics are individually loomed. Strong application on the hands. The hands are brighter than the dial in person. It's not loom that's going to blow you away, but it's not a dive watch, so it's more than sufficient. All right, let's flip the camera back around and wrap this thing up. All right, so that's it. The Orion 1 Field Standard. I don't know if it's Orion 1, it's just Orion Field Standard. That is a very blingy field watch on the bracelet. And I apologize, those polished surfaces that they got kind of smudgy. So yeah, what do you guys think? What's your favorite field watch? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Before I let you go, sneaker check, AJ1 Lows. What else? All right, I'm out. If it's not too much trouble, like, subscribe, and come back next time. Peace.